Let's talk about testing yourself and how do you know if you're ready for a certain type of exam. So I'm looking from the perspective of the FINRA and NASA exams, but you can really apply it to any exam out there. So how do you decide when it's time to pull the trigger? I like to keep it mathematical. I don't like to get it ambiguous. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you can feel when you're ready. I get that, but why not make it mathematical? Why not make it quantifiable? The more quantifiable you try to make something, the more trackable and usually the better it is and easier it is to actually measure your improvement. So let's say in the context of the FINRA NASA exams, there's usually about usually you'll have like a question bank and you'll have, let's say, like 22 different units. So I like to, most of these, the FINRA NASA exams, they generally have a passing score of like the low 70s, right? Somewhere in the low 70s in general. And I like to basically create 25 question practice exams per unit and make sure that you're consistently getting scores of 75 or higher, because the passing score for the exams is generally in the low 70s. If you have a score that you're aiming for, then obviously you should take that score and maybe add 5 points to it, and that's what you should be scoring at consistently per exam. So meaning like if you take 3 exams back to back, you could score 75 or higher on all of them. That's how I want you to get. And this might be a little bit overkill, but that gives you a very, very, very high chance of passing the exam. I'd say that this would give you like a 95% chance of passing the exam. And if you're scoring in the 80s, it puts you at like 99%, right? So if you're on average, so if you're scoring consistently in the 75s, you're ready on that section. And you want to have that ability for every section, right? If you're crunched on time, then what you can do is take a 25 question test. And 25 question is not magic by any means, but if you do 20, each question counts is 5 points. So, you could still get like 4 wrong and get an 80, right? Or 5 wrong and you're at 75. If it's 25 question, now it's at 4 points. So you can get 5 wrong or even 6 wrong and you're still scoring very well, right? You're still scoring, more than passing range with a little buffer. And generally a lot of the questions are going to be harder than the actual exam, but whatever exam you're taking, the specifics of it, and you can kind of modify a strategy to make sense. So let's say you are on a time crunch. What you can do is you can then just hit a 25 question practice exam per all the chapters or per all the units. Whichever is your weakest unit, that's what you work on. Either reread the textbook or maybe do the questions with the explanation. Just run through as many there, because you're going to get more of a marginal benefit by focusing on the stuff that you're really weak in, right? And I get it. Obviously, there's certain sections that are overemphasized in the exam. You want to make sure that those sections you definitely want to make sure those sections are good. But in general, that's a pretty good way to really hit on all your weak points. And then once you're relatively level per section, and you're consistently scoring like 75 or higher, or whatever your exam entails, maybe you want to go even higher, that's when you start taking like a full-length exam. Like a full-length exam, I don't find it a useful tool for someone to take every day. I have met plenty of folks that prefer like taking even multiple exams a day. Not a common thing. I'd say that that's about 10% of people. I think like 90% of people, they're better off sticking to the 25 question quick hitters. And then occasionally, maybe once a week on the weekend when you're well rested, when you're not tired from work, you take a full-length exam, and that's just a gauge, right? That's a gauge. And for the FINRA and the NASA exams, I generally recommend on the full-length exams you should not have the explanations on while you're taking the test. It's just going to be information overload, plus it's going to bias your score. On the real exam, you're not going to have that. But on these 25 questions where you're building to it, you can, if you want to gauge, you turn the explanations off. If you're trying to learn, you do it with the explanations on. So you're getting a combination of questions and learning and interpretation. I find that's a very, very effective way of studying. And again, this can apply to whatever exam you're taking depending on the specifications, right? You can slightly adjust it. I just think it's a good way to quantify it, and it allows you to know what you're going to score at and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So the more mathematical you can get, the more quantifiable you can get, the more you can see an impact on your score. So hope this helps. Please listen, like, and subscribe for more. Thanks.